Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Historical Humans Heritage. And today we are going to Indonesia to look at a Hindu temple, the
Yep.
Prambanan temple compounds. Let's dive into her.
Yep. Yes, this is a 10th century temple compound dedicated to Shiva. It is the largest of its kind in Indonesia. So right there off the bat, you can see why it would rank as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. If you're the biggest and the best of something somewhere, you tend to get put on this list.
I can't wait till my birthplace is put on this list then.
You will never make it. Um, uh, So the temple itself is a series of what are known as concentric squares, and what that basically means is there's sort of like Russian nesting doll style. Every time you go through one, there's another smaller version of it right in front of you, and
Interesting.
there is three of these. At the center of which are a series of temples decorated with illustrations from the Ramayana, which is a Hindu epic. Um, Fittingly, the three temples inside the three rings are dedicated to the three great Hindu deities of Shiva, Vishnu, and Brahma, respectively. Specifically, they are dedicated to the animals that are seen as the servants and representations of these deities. Uh, which is always fun. Like, you don't see anything like this in Christianity. Like, where is the temple to the dove? All right, the dove saves Noah, but there are no temples to the dove.
What I find to be very spectacular about this is it's one of the rare occasions, and not super rare, but to see Hinduism take such a strong hold in Indonesia was a huge marker for the growth of the religion. But to see mass architecture like this, you have to dedicate so much time, money, and effort into creating monumental architecture. And these buildings are incredible on their own, and the squares are incredible. But then you look at the intricate artwork and carvings on the buildings, and they're honestly go to a completely new level, in my opinion.
Oh yes, definitely. They're they're very. It's it's very much a big level. And speaking to that size, the temple complex itself, that is on this list, as stated as the Prambanan temple, it consists actually of 240 individual temples.
Wow. So we should just
Um,
reference the complex
yeah,
or
uh,
compound.
yeah, they form what is known today as the Pramban Archaeological Park, and all of them were built during the heyday of Seilindra's dynasty in Java during the 8th century CE. Uh, the park itself is located on the borders of two provinces, Yogyakarta and Central Java on Java Island. So these compounds, they are located right on an internal border. They go back to a major dynasty for the Indonesian people, and it's just massive. I mean, and it's all laid stonework. You see no mortar in any of this. It's all fitted stone.
The discussion of mortar between rock is such an interesting debate. But yes,
Yeah.
it's very beautiful. It's very intricately carved. You could tell that it took masters a significant amount of time to build it. I mean, there's over 240 temples, and this was built during the heyday of the Salindras dynasty in Java, which is around 800 AD. So, I mean,
Yep.
these are 1300 years old.
Yep. Yes, indeed. Um, one of the uh, one of the fun things is that the temple itself consists of 240 temples, or the complex within this UNESCO definition.
Yeah.
However, the notes on integrity mention that while those 240 temples are considered intact or preserved, they are part of a much larger group consisting of a total of 508 temples, which includes all the temples that are currently in the state of what would be considered ruins, i.e., there is not enough of them left standing to be readily identified without archaeological excavation. Uh, the area itself is one of those uh, rare areas where there is absolutely no threat either from development or neglect. It's that perfect balancing point. It's not so far away from civilization that the government can't get to it to maintain it, but not so close that people are trying to, pave it. Uh, in fact, the only real threat to it is the island of Java itself, as the
Seismically active.
island's volcanic activity just generally poses a threat to anything on the island at all times.
Yeah, I mean, the seismic activity and the earthquakes are an issue, especially as in 2006 there was damage and care taken to protect the structures afterwards. But there's also a few laws in place that help protect the site as well that make it quite important. Like, it was designated as a national cultural property in 1998, and there was a law issued in 2010 that further supports the protection and conservation of the property. And the management of the temple compound is accommodated in a presidential decree of 1992 that established the 77-hectare compound that encompasses the property. So they're really doing a lot to try and protect the site and to continue preservation of it. Like, they're not trying to damage it, which is so rare.
And one of the other things about the site that is rare is that preservation work on it has been going on for over 100 years. The first preservation and restoration work was what began in 1918. So World War One.
God, so they've been working on that for a long time. And
But one of the interesting things about it too is that with the presence of all that seismic activity, some of the preservation work has been using the traditional interlocking stone technique only, whereas others have been mixing concrete between the stones to help them stay together as a sort of additional mortar to prevent them from falling over during seismic activity.
and what's real interesting is a part of the action plan of 2007 after the earthquake that damaged the facilities, they decided to dedicate money and time into researching the compound to see how the stones were stacked together and ways in which they can further work to preserve the site and to work to protect it going forward in the future. So they're actually working towards trying to protect the site more so than just keep it in place.
And that's also one of the fun things to point out, because you look at this, it's interlocking stone, it's standing, it's very elaborate. It's like, we don't fully know how they got this to work. It's like the exact techniques they use to make sure that these very complex, very tall, very heavy towers stayed upright so well for so long. We don't have that anymore. We've moved on to other easier methods of doing the same thing. And so figuring out how to do it when you literally just have the stones, that takes a lot. And that is a very fun and interesting endeavor that we don't really think about because we can just make everything out of steel and glass now.
But I think that's a great point for us to wrap up on this episode. It was something kind of cool that popped up, and we don't tend to go to that part of the world all that often. And this is such an exceptional site. Something that is so beautiful and one of the rare gems that isn't in threat of being destroyed because people who care about it have clearly been taking care of it. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you in the next video.